generations of Hall of Fame hosts with us for today's panel. Please welcome the enchanting Miss Misery, the Lord, the High Lord of Geekdom, Lord Blood Rah, and the man who belongs on the Mount Rushmore of horror hosts, John Stanley. You're sitting in Miss Misery. John, we have you right over here beside me. You're welcome. Good to have you guys here with us today. You know, the last time I had the pleasure to talk with Miss Misery and Lord Blood Rah, I talked about how my interest in scary movies started with the old shot theater package that was sold to local stations. I'd stay up late with my mom to watch them. What sparked your first interest in things, scary films or scary things? John?
Yeah, that first moment was in 1951. I was 11 years old, and I was with my aunt and uncle in Bakersfield, and we went to see a movie called The Thing from Another World, starring James Arnett, who would appear in almost 25 seasons of Gunsmoke. Anyway, watching that film, for the rest of the summer, I was afraid to walk down the corridor alone because I was afraid the thing was going to leap out at me. And right after that came another film with Gort, the robot, the Davy who stood still,
Yes.
and an actor named Patricia Neal is trapped inside Gort's flying saucer. And here comes Gort, and here she, the look on her face was unforgettable. That's where the horror films really started for me. I have not seen the Frankenstein
Universal.
package. That didn't come out until, I think, around 1955.
Yeah, something like
Which is when stations needed horror hosts.
Right.
That's when the horror host genre really began.
Miss Misery, how about you?
Well, when I was a little girl, my dad used to wake me up Saturday nights to watch back-to-back Monsters and Tales from the Dark Side. And that was kind of like my introduction into horror. But it wasn't until a few years later I watched John Carpenter's Halloween. That is what did it for me, was Michael Myers. So after that, it was everything. Horror books, horror movies, horror TV, anything more. Elvira.
Sure.
I would watch Elvira. And yeah, that was it. I owe everything to John Carpenter, I gotta say.
Lord Blood Rah.
I grew up watching creature features with Bob Wilkins and this gentleman here, which opened the door to the Universal horror films, 50s sci-fi, the Godzilla films, the Hammer films, the entire world of horror, and just fell in love with it. Bob Wilkins was a great and gentle guide into classic horror and science fiction. He did it so well. And of course, this gentleman, John Stanley, who took over after it again, just so full of information and guiding you into the world of horror. And I've loved horror ever since.
I want to stay with you for just a second, Lord Blood Rah. I love the story about how you got started in hosting Fright Flicks. What debt do you owe to the infamous director, Ed Wood?
Okay. Some very close friends of my family own a winery, Chouinard Winery in Castro Valley. Not there anymore, since retired. So, but I showed the winemaker Damien the film Plan 9 from Outer Space. And he'd never seen it before, never heard of it before, and he fell in love with it. This was, he didn't know these kind of films existed. He loved it. And he said, well, I want to show it at the winery. You know, because they did special events there, bands and stuff like that. And I said, great, but you can't just show a movie. You know, you gotta have a host, you gotta trailer reel, something for that. So we contacted a local host plans were made, and the show came off, but some things, the show came off well, but some things didn't work out, some promises were made that didn't follow through and stuff. So the next day, Damien's over at my place, so it's Damien, my wife, and myself are sitting there, and he said, I want to do this every year. I think it would be really popular if we show kind of horror and science fiction films every year around September, Halloween time. Do you know any other hosts? And I said, man, no. At that time I did not. This was 2008. And I said, no, man. Personally, I don't know any other hosts. My wife turned to me and said, why the hell don't you do it? And I didn't have an answer. And over the course of the year, I developed Lord Blood Rah. In 2009, I did my first appearance anywhere was at the Chouinard Winery, hosting a double feature of the dearly departed Roger Corman's Little Shop of Horrors and Bucket of Blood. And that's kicked off a 10-year stint of doing shows there every Halloween season. And that was back in 2009. That led to the TV show and everything else that I'm doing today. So yeah, I owe it all to wine and Edward.
Miss Misery, you started with the last Doorway series.
Yes.
Okay, what did that involve, and how did that evolve into Miss Misery Movie Massacre?
When I first started, I was doing films, acting in films for my friend in college. And then I went from doing that to my own short films. And from there, I said, how am I going to get my foot in the door into the horror industry? So I was like, if I went to the conventions and I interviewed other indie filmmakers and some guests and just kind of started snoozing, what's going to happen? I'm going to meet people and get the door. And that's when I decided to create The Last Doorway, which is a show dedicated to independent horror. And I needed a persona. So obviously I came up with Miss Misery. I grew up on Elvira. I was not born yet or I was too young for creature features. So Elvira was my thing, not ever thinking I was going to grow up to be Elvira. Did I want to? Yes. Did I dress as her 6 years in a row for Halloween when I was a little girl? Yes. But did I grow up to think I was going to be a horror host? No. And I'm so happy I did, because that not only got my foot in the door, but it created something, a family in the Bay Area that I did not know was there, which is Lord Blood Rah, John Stanley. I got to meet Bob Wilkins a few times before he passed. Great script guy. And ever since then, we did almost 90 episodes, and now from there, I had the opportunity to do horror hosting films, which is something I actually said no to at first, because how many times have you seen Night of the Living Dead? A lot. But you know what? Somebody said, well, we haven't seen you host it. Okay, I gotta host it. And from there, I said, I'll do 1 season, 8 episodes. I'm now heading in almost 200 episodes.
Wow.
And I'm still going.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
So it's been a roller coaster ride.
How many books have you written?
How many? 34.
And there's one book that has all color photographs in it,
Yes.
based on all of her shows that she has done.
Yeah.
That is one of the best books of its kind.
It's right there.
Yeah,
I did a
that's
Miss
it.
Misery Movie
Yeah,
Massacre
yes.
behind the scenes. You can find it on
Yeah.
Amazon. You can also go through my website, laststoryproductions.com. It's on there. And it's
Yeah,
got
I would
everything
agree.
from the beginning to now. And
John Stanley did
Changes that you've seen in the area or the job of horror hosting from your perspective. John, you're going to have the broadest perspective here. But like you were saying before, I think the genesis of this was probably those original movies from the Soviet local stations who were starved for content and developed the horror host. And that's the beginning. But now, from each of your perspectives, through each of your eyes, different generations, what is these the most dramatic changes? Let's start with the youngest member of our panel. And thank you for reminding us that you were too young to remember Creature Features.
I wasn't trying to say I'm that young. I think with horror hosting, it goes in waves. It goes up and down.
Dramatic.
It goes up and down. Like, for years, it would be this big thing. There's so many horror hosts, and you've got so many showing on YouTube and Roku and television where you're like, wow, where are all these horror hosts come from? Like, there's so many. And then also we dip down and we're like, a lot of them don't continue. And then there's like, where are they? Where'd they go? Not everyone's cut out to be horror hosts. Not everyone wants to keep going with it. I get it. It can be hard at times. But I feel like it just goes in terms of those things. Like right now, there's a few new horror hosts coming out. You have reached out to me for advice because they're coming out with shows. And I'm like, yes, embrace the bug. If you need anything, I'm a mentor. I'll be here for you. But I don't, again, it's going to go ways. And as generations come up, not a lot of people, I feel like, are watching horror hosts anymore. I feel like the newer kids, the newer generations are like, yeah, that's my parents' thing. And it's like, oh no.
It's a shame.
So it is a real shame. But, but who knows, in a year or two, it might go back up, and all of a sudden, you know, maybe they're watching with their parents. Maybe they'll get into it. It goes in terms.
Yeah, one of the differences that I see is there are so many platforms for movies now. I mean, there's Netflix, and they're all producing original content, and so you're getting where we used to look forward to any kind of horror film that would come out in the theater, whether it be a Roger Corman movie or a movie like Mr. Stanley's talking about, like The Thing, or The Day the Earth Stood Still. We were just waiting, things to be released. But it seems every time I look through any kind of a platform now, there are 100 horror films that look so interesting to me, and I never have watched them. So that seems like a big change. Lord Blood Rah, what do you see as good?
Well, actually, I'm seeing more, and this is actually more in the Midwest. For quite a few years, I was on regular commercial TV in the Midwest, in Peoria and Fort Wayne. Now I'm on the Nostalgia Network, which is nationwide and on Dish TV. But what I get a lot of is young families thanking me for presenting these classic films that they grew up with in a family-friendly way. It's like, oh, my kid can watch the show. I love it. And I saw that movie when I was a kid with my local horror host, and now I can share that with my son, daughter, my kids. So it's really become a nice kind of tradition that does indeed go in waves. It really does. But the big thing, well, I think two big things really kind of have led to this kind of upsweep that we're in now. One is Svengoolie. Svengoolie being syndicated nationally has made the majority of people aware of what horror does. When I started in 2009, I told people I'm a horror host. They're like, when you put on plays, you're a magician, what do you do? And locally I could say, well, remember Creature Features? They go, oh yeah. But other places it's like, what do you mean? Now it's like, oh, Svengoolie, yeah, that kind of thing. You do that kind of thing. Another big thing was the internet. One of the big pioneers in horror hosting was Count Lord Blood Rah. He was in Washington on TV for years, and then kind of not retired, but the station put him on other duties. And then one day, I forgot what year it was, he got on the internet and said, "Oh, what people are saying about Lord Blood Rah," and everything was ex-horror host. And he's like, "I'm not ex anything." So he was the first horror host to go to the internet, to put his show on the internet and tap the potential of the internet. And if you search out there, there is an amazing number of horror hosts out there that do their show on the internet, either on YouTube or just have their own channels and on the internet, own websites. But there are also now smaller independent stations that are picking up horror hosts. I was lucky enough to get on the Nostalgia Network. There are a few others out there that are picking up horror hosts now. So I really think we're on an upswing. And without the modern technology of the internet, streaming, that kind of thing, I don't think that would be happening.
That's true, because, recently my friend who's now started to become a horror host was saying, I want you to cameo in my show. And I said, sure. He's like, I'll let my producer know. And his producer got excited and said, yeah, I've seen her show on in New York. And I said, what?
Right, yes, yeah.
I'm on in New York.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, you never know
Yeah.
where you're going to be at.
If you're streaming, you're
It's
worldwide.
crazy.
If you're streaming,
Yeah.
you're worldwide. Yeah.
John, you have the greatest period of time to
Well,
see what's going on.
the era that I did my show in was when people stayed home to watch a program. It was on every Saturday at 9 o'clock or whatever the time was. They're not going to go out on a date, they're going to stay home and watch it. And that was, people would see your show every week, but year after year. Now it's all streaming. It's not on at a particular time. It's only 1 week. I can have a half hour to go watch this or that. And you try to make a choice. It's totally different. I'm reminded of Gene Roddenberry. He had Star Trek in a 9 o'clock time slot on Thursday nights. And they moved it to Friday night for I think it was the 3rd season. No, he said, don't do that. They'll all go out on a date on Friday night. I want them home on Thursday night to see it. And in fact, he had a falling out with NBC and no longer produced the show. His name was up there, but he didn't produce it anymore. But that's how things change.
Yeah, there's almost no such thing as time slot now.
No.
Yeah.
Which is good in a way, because it does mean that, especially among horror hosts, there's really no competition. There's trying to get as many viewers as each show can, but it's not like I have to win my time slot and they're on opposite me at 10 p.m. and I've got to, that's not that. You can watch a show at any time.
Yeah, whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
YouTube it, Roku it,
Right.
just log into it.
And another thing I've got to add about John that has always impressed me is, especially from his era of horror hosts, is a lot of horror hosts were either actors who were brought in or somebody brought in from the mailroom, they put a costume on and said, introduce the movie. John is a lifelong horror and science fiction fan, and it always showed in his enthusiasm on Creature Features. It always showed how much he loved the films he was on. And I've always appreciated it.
And one of the great joys of that was to meet some of the best science fiction figures in the world. How about Ray Bradbury or Robert Blood? Both became very close friends. I got to interview them many times. In fact, I even published a book of short stories Robert Block had written for Fantastic Adventures at Folk Magazine.
Wow.
And I had bought a set of Fantastic Adventures in bound format, and so I had a copy of all these different stories about a racetrack town named Lefty Feet, and they were all humorous horror stories. And I was able to bring all that together.
That's cool.
Into a brand new book.
An interview is an organic thing, and it kind of takes on a life of its own. And I love when things kind of come together. I wrote down my next question, and it's about somebody that you interviewed, since you mentioned these terrific people that you interviewed. This one kind of surprised me. There seemed to be such a mild-mannered person. I read that Christopher Lee almost walked off your show one time. What's the story behind that?
Yes. Christopher Lee was making a movie in the Marin County. And so I was able to arrange for him to be a guest on my show. Well, he didn't show up. And we had to go ahead and start the show. And we were right at a point where Channel 2 was building me a brand new set. I had been doing the show on Bob Wilkins' old set. And in a week or two, we were going to have the new set. So this group of Star Wars fans dressed in costumes of all the characters from Princess Leia and Han Solo and all of that, were pretending to build my set. They were carrying hammers and saws and lumber and walking around, and I have sound effects of building things. And he finally walked. We have to. We watched him, and he's watching all of this from the sidelines. And he turned to my wife, who acted as the producer, and said, "I don't think this is the kind of show I want to be involved with." Well, at that point, I was just introducing a two-part interview with Ray Bradbury. It was going to be on this week and next. And as Chris turned to walk away, Ray Bradbury appeared up on the TV screen above the door. So he stopped and he watched the interview. And when I finished the segment, closed it down, the lights came on, he said, "Well, it's good enough for Ray Bradbury, it's good enough for me." And he stayed, and we did a three-part interview.
So it had a happy end. Miss Misery, movie Massacre is very much a family affair for you. What are the roles of your husband and son in the production? And how did Dr. Tara get involved? Dr. Tara? Who's the other character?
Oh, Mr. Torture.
Mr. Torture. Oh, I don't know
Like
where I got
Dr.
Dr.
Tara, that
Tara.
sounds cool too.
Well, an idea for a new character.
There you go.
Well, when I first started Movie Massacre, so my husband does camera runs, does sound work, he's more behind the scenes. Mr. Torture, my friend Ken Constantine, a big horror fan. I met him at Creepy Coffee Movie Time when I was on that show, doing my own segment. And we started talking, and we ended up being friends, and when I started doing Movie Massacre, it was like, God, I'd love to be a part of something. He said, yes, you can. And he pitched me Mr. Torture at his house. I walked into his house, and all I saw right there in the living room was a mannequin with an executioner outfit on and an axe. And I went, what did I get myself into here? But it was great though. You pitched it, you put on the outfit. I said, you know what, this sounds good. So we went with it, and he's been on the show since. He has been on hiatus because he went through cancer. He's now cancer free, so he will be returning to the show. I tried to keep this character alive as much as I could in the show while he was absent. We'll be welcoming him back. And then I have my 6-year-old son now, Logan. His name's Monster Kid Logan. And he's on the show every now and then. He'll hold up like a toy when I talk about a toy or a comic book. He's really into it. So
That's great. I wonder where he got that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Lord Blood Rah, how did the Tremulous trailers turn into Paragraph? What was that?
The Tremulous Trailers was my first YouTube series, and it was basically me hosting classic horror and science fiction trailers. That kind of started in the same way that the TV series started, which was it was all to promote the live shows at the winery. That's all I ever thought I was going to do. Was like, okay, well, this is a good gig, so I'm going to be hosting horror shows at the winery. I need to promote it. Well, I love trailers. To get the word out on YouTube, I'll do this trailers thing. So I did that, and through that and doing the live shows, I did, I believe it was a WonderCon in 2012. I did a WonderCon, and I was on a horror host panel. If I believe, we were on the panel together. You, me, and Tom were the Archives of Creature Features, and we're talking about general horror host stuff. And this guy stood up and said, I'm with the Chabot College TV station. Would you be interested in having us run your TV show? And I said, yes, let's talk. Yeah, great. I didn't have a TV show. I didn't have a camera. I didn't have a set. I had nothing. But everything in me said, yes, do it. So I did the show, and I thought it'll be a good way to promote the live show. It'll air on, local Chabot, and I can say, hey, by the way, every Halloween season at the Chabot Winery. A friend of mine, luckily, worked at a TV station in Peoria, Illinois, and I had contributed some pieces to his podcast, which was Drunken Zombie. And he wrote me and said, "Hey, our horror host is retired. Send us a couple of episodes of your TV show." Yeah, all right. A couple hours later, yeah, you're on Saturday nights at midnight. Then it started to get serious. I'm like, oh, maybe the focus now is the TV show. So it all really started with those live shows, and yeah, Trailers morphed into the TV show. Whatever. It's been going for almost like 15 years.
What are your favorite movies to show? I'll repeat that because I don't think I talked in your mind. What are your favorite movies to show? Like your all-time favorite. If you had to pick one and you had to show it every week for the rest of your life, what would be that movie?
One particular, not a genre.
One we've showed already?
Yes,
Just the
one that you posted. I should have said that.
Oh, that's really hard to say. I'll either do classics like Night of the Living Dead, Carnival of Souls, that kind of thing, which I really enjoy because I really enjoy getting audiences into those films and giving information. But I also like the Larry Buchanan schlock, low budget stuff that is just fun to watch and fun to do.
Sure.
I can't answer that question. I have no idea. They're all fun to present in their own way.
Yeah. Do you feel the same way, Miss Missouri?
It's hard, it's hard to choose. There's a lot of them are really bad, and I most of them, but a lot of them are really good. Honestly, if I had to choose one, probably House on Haunted Hill.
Oh, okay.
Vincent Price
Classic.
is Vincent Price. I would choose that one. I think that's one. I mean, they all have their unique.
Sure.
William Castle.
William Castle.
Yeah, give it.
William Castle.
Skeleton with
Right.
I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to host in a theater that had not. Like in the movie Matinee with John Goodman.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm hosting House on Haunted Hill live in Illinois at the Morton VIP Theater in 3D. Yeah, I'm doing it in 3D.
Wow.
Which it'll be fun.
Oh, that's a
John, how about you? You're a film historian, and you've done, countless celebrity interviews. You've been exposed to probably the greatest films of the last 60, 70 years. Which one would you pick?
Well, I have to rank Ray and Harry Elder films with all of their wonderful special effects. I always thought he was one of the finest
Right.
to the special effects that were. I have a collection of books about movies in general that I wrote. Usually they have a lot of pictures on them.
Yeah.
Then there are the biographies and autobiographies of people who were in the movie industry.
Oh, of
That's on a
course.
separate show. That would certainly mean if you were to come into my home. You would also see a lot of first-time photographs on the wall.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, on some of the press.
Something else to impress.
Yeah. And I have a drawing designed for just Star Trek, like gas movies.
Sure.
With like 5 or 6 off in it.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, John. Every time I get to sit down with horror hosts, we get low on time, and I still have pages of questions to ask. So for next time, guys. But right now, I'd like to open it up for any questions that anybody might have for our horror hosts. Is there anybody who would like to ask a question? Yes.
So that's John Stanley. What's his favorite Ray Harryhausen movie?
Oh my gosh, it's hard to remember the title. I got to review it for the Chronicle. It came out in 1961. I'm sorry, I can't remember the...
Jason and the Argonauts? Jason and the Argonauts?
Yeah, that was one of them, definitely. Yeah, Jason and the Argonauts.
With they did the shows back then, it was just amazing.
And the set footage of
yeah.
Sinbad was the one that I remember seeing. Yeah. Those were incredible, incredible movies. I want to ask, are there any other questions first? And if not, then I have perhaps a final question here. I know that people come up and talk to you about your role as a horror host, like at conventions and probably at other book signings or other opportunities. What is it that they say to you about their enjoyment of what you do? What stays with you? What impression have you made on them? And we'll start with Ms. Misery.
I get a lot of fans who come up telling me how much they love to watch the show, the segments. They always learn something. Mr. Torture segment usually teaches you about medieval weapons.
You mean the Dr. Care segment?
Yeah, that's coming up next. No. Yeah, so I get a lot of fans who they just love watching the show, especially when it comes from women. Women just love to watch the show. They love to see another woman do power, you know.
Yeah.
So that's always really nice to hear. I get stopped on the street. I get stopped at cons. So I stopped once at WonderCon, standing in line for the wrestler. My fan. I kid you not. It was like hi and at the same time. I was like, oh yeah, I have to he's a wrestler. But yeah, I mean, I love always hearing fan feedback. Where they watch, and how they watch. Because I like to know, is it most YouTube, Roku? I try to get on. I try to make sure everyone can watch. A lot of people don't get the station I'm on, so I have to YouTube program and I guess. Usually a lot more women than men. But yeah, but I mean, I always love meeting fans. So it's really nice.
Lord Blood Rah, how about you?
Well, like I said, I get a lot of young families saying, hey, it's great that your show's family friendly. Like young kids could watch it, I can introduce them to the films. I mean, not that I'm not prudish in any way, but I figured I wanted to do a family friendly show just for that reason. To be able to introduce younger people to these films that I really love and enjoy. I'll often poke fun at the fact that, hey, can we say that? This is a family friendly show. The best compliment I ever got on the show was, and I don't remember if somebody wrote it to me or sent it to me in person, said, your show is like warm macaroni and cheese. It's comfort food. And I was like, oh, thank you. Thank you. That's wonderful to hear. That's great. That's what I was aiming for, because I think that these films, if you're a horror science fiction fan, that's exactly what they are. They are comfort.
Yeah. I actually once had I'm so sorry, John. I actually once had a fan tell me I was Elvira's daughter. It was the weirdest thing ever, because that's Elvira. But I took it, I thought it was fantastic. And I loved it. And I was like, no way. It's Elvira. Yeah, you know Elvira. It's like,
I went to her house one time.
Oh, wow,
nice.
John.
That's great.
Wow, your stock just went up.
The story I wanted to share with you is what happened between Bob Wilkins and me after the show had left the air. Years had gone by. In the year 2000, we were invited to appear together at a show in Oakland. And the theater was packed. They were all fans and new members of the show. And Bob and I continued to make special appearances for the next 8 years. He would die in 2009 from Alzheimer's disease. But in between, those years in between, every year we appeared at the WonderCon, at the Moscone Center in San Francisco. We appeared at the Castro Theater, maybe 2 or 3 times a year at the Algoa Theater. And there was a special show sometime or whatever that Bob and I would be invited to that show. And we made appearances for all of those years. Whoever would have thought after your show left the air that 15 years later you'd come back.
Creature Features created a film community in the Bay Area that's still going strong.
On a personal note, John, I want to tell you how much you meant to me as a young man sitting on the sofa with my high school sweetheart became my wife of over 50 years. And one of my products is over there standing at the door. That's my daughter. So, John, thank you so much, and thank you everybody today.
Collection of books about movies in general. That those usually they have a lot of pictures on them.
Yeah.
Then there are the biographies and autobiographies of people who were in the movie industry.
Oh, of
That's on a
course.
separate show. That would certainly mean if you were to come into my home. You would also see a lot of first time photographs on the wall.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, some of the best.
Some fast and impressive.
Yeah. And I have a drawing designed for just Star Trek, guys.
Sure.
With like 5 or 6 alternate numbers.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, John. Every time I get to sit down with horror hosts, we get low on time, and I still have pages of questions to ask. So for next time, guys. But right now, I'd like to open it up for any questions that anybody might have for our horror hosts. Is there anybody who would like to ask a question? Yes.
So that's John Stanley. What's his favorite Ray Harryhausen movie?
Oh my gosh, it's hard to remember the title. I got to review it for the Chronicle. It came out in 1961. I'm sorry, I can't remember the
Jason and the Argonauts? Jason and the Argonauts?
Yeah, that was one of them, definitely. Yeah, Jason and the Argonauts.
When they did sales back then, it was just amazing.
And the seventh voyage of
yeah.
Sinbad was the one that I remember. Yeah. Those were incredible movies. I want to ask, are there any other questions first? And if not, then I have perhaps a final question here. I know that people come up and talk to you about your role as a horror host, like at conventions and probably at other book signings or other opportunities. What is it that they say to you about their enjoyment of what you do? What stays with you? What impression have you made on them? And we'll start with Ms. Misery.
I get a lot of fans who come up telling me how much they love to watch the show, the segments. They always learn something. Mr. Torture segment usually teaches you about medieval weapons.
You mean the Dr. Terror segment?
Yeah, that's coming up next. No. Yeah, so I get a lot of fans who they just love watching the show, especially when it comes from women. Women just love to watch the show. They love to see a young woman with power,
Yeah.
So that's always really nice to hear. I get stopped on the street. I get stopped at cons. So I stopped once at WonderCon, standing in line for the restaurant. My fan. I kid you not. It was like hot and at the same time. I was like, oh yeah, back to the restaurant. But yeah, I mean, I love always hearing fan feedback. Where they watch, and how they watch. Because I like to know, is it most YouTube, Roku? I try to get on. I try to make sure everyone can watch. Because a lot of people don't get the station they're on, so I have to YouTube Roku everything. I guess usually a lot more women than men. But I mean, I always love meeting fans. So it's really nice.
Lord Blood Rah, how about you?
Well, like I said, I get a lot of young families saying, hey, it's great that your show's family friendly. Like young kids can watch it, I can introduce them to the films. I mean, not that I'm not prudish in any way, but I figured I wanted to do a family friendly show just for that reason. To be able to introduce younger people to these films they really love and enjoy. I'll often poke fun at the fact that, hey, can we say that? This is a family friendly show. The best compliment I ever got on the show was, and I don't remember if somebody wrote it to me or sent it to me in person, said, your show is like warm macaroni and cheese. It's comfort food. And I was
Wow.
like, oh, thank you.
Great.
Thank you. That's wonderful to hear. That's great. That's what I was aiming for, because I think that these films, if you're a horror science fiction fan, that's exactly what they are. They are comfort.
Yeah. I actually once had a, I'm so sorry, John. I actually once had a fan tell me I was Elvira's daughter. It was the weirdest thing ever, because that's Elvira. But I took it, I thought it was fantastic. And then loved it. I was like, no way, it's Elvira. Yeah, you call Elvira. It's like,
I went to her house one time.
Oh, wow, John.
That's great.
Wow, your stock just went up.
The story I wanted to share with you is what happened between Bob Wilkins and me after the show had left the air. Years had gone by. In the year 2000, we were invited to appear together at a show in Oakland. And the theater was packed. They were all fans of the new members of the show. And Bob and I continued to make special appearances for the next 8 years. He would die in 2009 from Alzheimer's disease. But in between, those years in between, every year we appeared at the WonderCon, at the Moscone Center in San Francisco. We appeared at the Castro Theater, maybe 2 or 3 times a year at the Algoa Theater. And there was a special show sometime or whatever that Bob and I would be invited to that show. And we made appearances for all of those years. So whoever would have thought after your show left the air that 15 years later you'd come back?
Creature Features created a film community in the Bay Area. That's still going strong.
On a personal note, John, I want to tell you how much you meant to me as a young man sitting on the sofa with my high school sweetheart became my wife over 50 years. And one of my products is over there standing at the door. That's my daughter. So, John, thank you so much, and thank you everybody today.
Thank you very much.